So we're back talking about $1 million careers. As always, my buddy Rob Houghton is with me. Rob is the president and CEO of MR Fairfax. He specializes in insurance in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and he is a category killer up there. So he's done a great job growing that business. Rob brings a pretty incredible background in some other areas too. So Rob, great to have you back again.
Great to have you back too. I'm a little bit sore. If you see me moving around a little bit strange, I was out in the garden for like the last 3 days, but I finally got the better of it.
Oh,
but it's all good, man.
I'm too old to do garden work anymore.
Man, 50 bags of mulch, it's crazy.
It's great. What a workout though.
I think you set the record, 100 bags a couple of years ago.
Yeah, my daughter and I, we laid 100 bags of mulch. We made 5 trips to Home Depot.
That's insane.
And I could barely move the next day. You know, you figure each bag is about 40 pounds and you're throwing them around and you're like, wow, that's crazy. But anyway,
good man.
Hey, let's talk about this. This is something I'm seeing. You work with a lot of small businesses, smaller mid-market businesses, and I do too. And what I'm seeing is I call it the entrepreneur trap. And you see it in a lot of smaller business where people know they need change. They want continuous improvement. They want to hire people to get them better. They hire really good people who can get them better. And then they don't let them do anything.
Yeah.
They refuse to let go. And then what happens? It's a monumental exercise in finger pointing, frustration, anger, hair pulling. Nobody's happy. And there you go. So we're going to talk about making change happen with the right people.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. If there's not a mutually agreed upon course of action in any type of organization, whether it's civilian or military, things get out of balance. People don't communicate, they don't collaborate, they don't deconflict in terms of what they're doing. And that spells trouble. Totally agree with you.
Look, you can't be a leader and a micromanager. You know, if you're going to be a leader, you got to let other people do what they know how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to micromanage and you want to be in every nit, note, and detail, you know, go put your bed in the middle of the factory floor, sleep there, you know, get in everybody's business, you know, burn yourself out. Yeah. I remember I remember this when I was a 27-year-old Navy officer, chief petty officer, senior chief petty officer who worked for me. Came up and it was like, you know, a really stupid conversation. I was kind of pissed because I was tired, and it was like we had a couple broken airplanes, and he's asking me, what boxes need to be swapped or whatever else. I'm looking at him, I'm going, Chief, you know, you got 30 years of fixing airplanes. You know, I don't know shit. I fly them. I don't fix them. You tell me the right solution. And he's looking at me going, well, this is my suggestion. I'm like, well, then do it. You know, if you just need my permission, you got it. Do it.
You know, what you just said has global implications, geopolitical. Think about the reason why the Russians and Putin are getting their hats handed to them in Ukraine is for that reason. The US military and how it trains its unconventional troops and how the Ukrainians have been trained, it's an NCO army, non-commissioned officers. Those guys have been trained and led to make decisions at the tactical level. The Russians and also the Chinese, it's a hierarchical army. It's a hierarchical military. Those guys on the ground cannot make any decisions on like when to fire a weapon until they get a written authorization from like a general. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are kicking their asses because
Yep.
they've been trained as an NCO army, as
Yep.
an NCO military force, because their unconventional troops have been trained by our troops.
Yeah, that is the metric of a great organization. When if the lieutenant on the battlefield gets killed or wounded, the first sergeant can take over. And if he gets killed or wounded, the next guy in line can take over. They understand it. And this is in business.
Yeah.
The president and the CEO sets the strategy for the organization. He's got the big plan. Yeah. Then you hire a CFO to come in and execute the financial plan. And you let that CFO do the job. And then you hire a COO who comes in and runs the operations and sets up the factory floor or the whatever, the warehousing, the shipping. And you let that person do their job. And then you've got the people under that organization who continue to execute. In the meantime, the COO or the CEO is up there, managing the overall strategy in the market. You let the VP of sales do their job. You don't get into every salesperson's deal. That's micromanaging. But the hard part you have in small middle market companies, and this is, I think this podcast is for those people, is you got to let them do it. You got to shift your mindset from doer mode to leader mode. And that is the hardest shift.
Yes.
I think that is look, that is a hard mental shift to make, because what it does is you got to have trust.
I deal with this all the time with the local insurance people. I mean, an insurance agency, are you kidding me? A typical small insurance agency is a man and his wife. He typically brings a kid in, and the guy is just like micromanaging the hell out of his business.
Yeah.
He's got he's the guy out selling, okay? But it's his wife, usually in her 50s. They all kind of look the same too,
Yeah.
And they're like a freaking czar in that office. I mean, they're counting phone calls, they're counting pencils, they're counting paper. Man, these people in there, it's like serving on a prison sentence.
Yeah.
And this is what I find in a lot of these small firms, which, as a matter of fact, I recruit people from the small mom and pops, right, to the medium size. That's where my source of candidates is. These people that are smothered under micromanagement, in these almost despotic relationships. I recruit them out of those into the bigger firms where there's more of a process, because as you and I know, as business owners, it's relatively easy to start a business up, and if you're good, to sell and get it going. But man, to scale a business, to build in business process, to lead instead of do.
Yep.
I can do it, but I choose not to, because it's a lot of work.
Hey man,
A lot of work, man.
the happiest words a CEO will ever hear: I got it. I'll take care of it. Give me 3 days and you'll be thrilled with the results. And then you go out and you take care of it. That gives a CEO complete, or a business leader, complete comfort. The words that, look, I came down to, when I came to North Carolina, I was VP of sales at a big real estate development company. We had, $800 million worth of real estate under development. And the guy I worked for was a colossal idiot. He was a colossal idiot, colossal moron. And it's like, hey, let me set the strat. I'm going to set the strategy. Here's where here's where the markets are. You develop the property. You get all the approvals and the permits and the EPA stuff, because that's what you're good at. Now, he wasn't an idiot. He was actually really, really good at that.
Right, exactly.
But he didn't know how to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
And he didn't know how to market. And he didn't know how to go to, he was like, he wanted to get into the nitnoids of just the CRM system. He wanted, how many leads did we get today? Did we qualify them? Did we, whatever? It drove me nuts. And then I was almost happy when the financial crisis came along and the whole thing blew up, because I could just walk away from it.
Sometimes you need a higher power to step in and put you around the
Yeah,
back,
man,
back on
that's
the
yeah,
right path. Yeah.
that's the that's the word. But that's the thing is that if you want to, you can't be a leader and a micromanager both.
Well, we've done podcasts on this previously, and leadership and management are two completely different things.
Yeah.
Two completely different things. Leadership and management. Leadership is empowering, enabling people up and down the chain of command.
Mhm.
Management is more like pouring over spreadsheets. How many calls did you make?
Yeah.
How many prospects do we have? Anybody can manage,
Mhm.
but to be a leader, that's totally different, totally
Yep.
different skill sets. And a lot of people don't even realize that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, leading is all about accountability and
But
I
let's
totally
flip.
agree, man.
But I'm going to flip the other. Now I'm going to flip the record over.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
You join the organization.
Side B. Okay.
Side B, you join an organization.
Oh, no.
And then you realize, yeah, I'm working for somebody. Yeah, look, nobody wants to hear their baby's ugly, right? You
Yeah.
come in and you look at it, you go, that process is really bad. Oh man, I can't believe you guys have been doing this for this long. Oh my God. You don't have what your CRM is this? That's like 100 years old. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So you go into this organization, you flop your butt down in your chair and you're looking around, you're going, it's a work in progress, right? But you go in and you say, your baby's ugly. And now you just insulted everybody who's been there.
Yeah.
Making it happen, with whatever resources they've got. And you're going, this is all messed up. Well, I'd be kind of pissed off if you came into my organization and did that too.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, we're making it just fine, until what? If you want to, can you make us better? Make us better, but don't tell us we've been all screwed up for the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think this is where you get into this by, with, and through that you and I were talking about. It's got to be, leadership works not just top down, but it also works bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's why our military, particularly special operations, has no peers.
Yeah.
Is because leadership goes up and it goes down, and there's a proper way to advocate for change. You have to get, you have to be a good listener. You have to ask the right questions. You have to be communicative. You have to be collaborative, and you got to deconflict. I totally agree with everything you said. Of course, by would be, by the person that you're talking about, the new VP of sales. With, he's got to do it with executive management, the board, he's got to get buy-in, and also with his staff. And through is important too, because you have to do it within the current constraints of the company.
Right.
The rules, the playbook, the owner's manual, the process. So again, military, civilian, it kind of all works the same if you think about it.
Yeah, well, hey, and so I'm going to qualify your statement a little bit, Rob. And people don't know this. You have been training special forces people for a decade and a half. So you understand this a little bit. So when people are like, why is he talking about special forces? Rob has been actually actively training special forces as part of another deal. And but I agree with you. And that that's the one thing that the special forces do well. They understand the lay of the land, but you got to get the buy-in of the organization. And you're not going to necessarily change the organization. So you have to figure out how to make the best, with what you got inside the environment you're in.
Yeah, it was always amazing. I got on a Fort Polk, and where one of the special forces trained before a mission. And it was always amazing. The communications package would always show up, right? And they'd always be missing a part. There was a guy that couldn't go to training because his wife was pregnant. I mean, it never worked out of the box or out of the truck. But it never ceased to amaze me that a group of guys sometimes who weren't even trained in communications would improvise and get that thing set up within 24 hours.
Mhm.
And it's just an amazing group. And I was really flattered to be a part of that. And but it's like business though. I used to always think to myself, am I wearing my military special forces hat or am I wearing my civilian hat? And it all kind of works the same, I mean, it's just it's the same people, but some of the lessons that you were talking about, improvisation and communication, collaboration, deconfliction, everything you're talking about,
Yeah.
by, with, and through the whole thing.
And look, there's a good friend of mine, there's a friend of mine I know, he had okay success. Could have been a lot better. He's probably, he was really, really good, really, really good at what he did. And I know he was really good at what he did because all the people who come up around there go, he was kind of the best boss and the best teacher I ever had. But where he started to fail was, if they would only let me do this, I could do that.
Yeah.
If they would just, like, time out. They're not. So you got to do the best. They're not going to change for you.
Right. Exactly.
They're not. They're not going to throw a whole bunch of more money at the they got so much to invest. They're not going to double that.
Sure.
So it's your job to figure out how to give the best results you can in the environment you're in, with the dollars you have, and communicate to people, what your strategy is. If you're continually telling people their baby is ugly, you're going to fail.
Yeah. I think one of the best things a person can do, like a junior executive, right? We're still on side B, right? So we're talking about the guy that gets the job. Let's call him a VP sales. Okay. So he gets a job. It really starts even during the interview process. I mean, but at the latest, the first day, because a good junior executive should get buy-in at the earliest, at the earliest part of the relationship he can. Because if you think about it, when do you have the most leverage in a relationship, in a professional relationship? It's when you're interviewing, right? You have all the leverage. If you walk in there on day one, your leverage is out the window because, hey, you're an employee, man. I'm paying you. Here's the plan. Okay, roger that, right? But if you're in the final interview and you ask the question, hey, what can I do in the first 6 months to make a difference in this organization? You start talking about potential changes, some of the things you're talking about, right?
Right.
And here's where the magic comes in. Okay, hey, when you do the employment agreement or the offer letter, let's write some of these things down that I'm advocating for. And you make that part of the agreement. But here's the key. It's got to be mutually agreed upon.
Yep.
If you can come up with some workflows or some goals or objectives that are mutually agreed upon within, let's say, 60 days of employment. And sometimes you're not going to be able to do all this stuff during the interview process. But if you put in your agreement or your offer letter or employment agreement, based upon our conversations that we've had, as part of this agreement, we're going to meet within 60 days to put together a list of mutually agreeable benchmarks and goals and objectives. And you got that in your agreement, okay? There is no, well, I don't have time. No, it's in the agreement. You have to do it. So you sit down and you make these mutually agreed upon goals. That's where the magic happens, man, because now you do have the leverage and you have the buy-in and you have the collaboration. It's not like twisting anybody's arm and goes, well, I don't have any money. You're like, hey, look, dude, we're going to put together some mutually agreeable benchmarks and metrics. Then you've got leverage and you have some sort of control.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And there's the one thing when I take on a search, I write a detailed position description. I hate writing them because they take so much time, but it's about 4 pages long. Who's the company? What's the goal of the position? Why somebody should look at it? Who the players are in the organization? It's not the little 1-page bullet thing, person must get results fast.
Yeah, right.
Interact and communicate with the team.
Right.
The lazy HR the lazy HR position description,
Yeah,
no, it's a detailed thing. Here's the job. This is the job. Now the person who is hiring me for the job has to buy off. I have to get their approval for the position description. Is this accurate? Yes. You go through the interview process, you bring up a good point. At offer letter time, dear Sally or Joe, we look forward to you coming on board the company. This is the position. These are the goals for the next 6 months for you to achieve.
Yep.
There you go. Complete understanding. When you have two people with complete understanding at the time, life will be pretty good.
Okay. I actually went at that a little bit differently. Okay. So I'm in the process of making a big search now. This is a guy that could potentially be their individual, their face of the organization, their practice leader for the state of Florida, brand new territory. Okay. We're talking about the offer letter. And I asked him, I said, his name is Rick. I said, Rick, put together a list of everything you want to accomplish. 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, and a year. Put it together in a form of goals and objectives, benchmarks. And he actually did it, 2 pages long. I said, are you sure you can do this, man? I mean, is this reasonable, realistic, based upon what you know about the company? He said, yeah. He says, I can do this. I'm not sandbagging or anything. These are realistic goals that if I work hard and I get the resources, I'll be able to do this. I mean, some pretty big numbers in terms of sales. I said, it's okay if I show this to the client. And he says, yeah, sure. I show it to the client and I recommended that this be an attachment. And this is his benchmarks and goals for the next year, because on the client side, they were very concerned about paying this guy all this money and then him showing up and being a dud.
Yep.
And then having to wait 9 months or a year. And I said, don't wait 9 months or a year. Here it is right here. You've got 60, you got a 90-day goal. If he's not doing anything close to this, you got problems. He goes on a 30-day notice, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to wait a year. And it's great for everybody because everyone's like fully bought in and accountable now. That's when you get the magic in the bottles, when people are like flying out of bed, knowing that they've got a clear path to success and everybody's on board. You got the resources, everything.
Yep. Why don't you just make it part of the interview process? Here's my goals. When you bring candidates in and you're going, hey, look, here are my goals. Take a look at them. And let's talk about it in this interview process. Yeah,
absolutely. The interview process is where the candidate, now I'm speaking on side B now, right? So in terms of the candidate, you lose all your leverage after the interview process. That's why I tell people, come with lists of questions, talk about goals, objectives, metrics. That's when you want to talk about it. Because if you wait until you show up on day one, it's too late. Yeah, no, I agree. You're there. At least now when you show up, you go, hey, wait a minute. During the interview process, you told me you needed this, and this done. And I gave you the plan to do it. Right. And that's why you hired me. So if now you're balking on it, if you're getting the EBGBs or second thoughts or buyer's remorse or whatever, let me know now. Yeah. Because I'm either we're either going to talk about it, how to get back on the right track, or let's just cut the relationship. Yeah, let's just cut the relationship early. Because it's going to be ugly. The thing that causes the most concern in an organization is lack of communication, lack of goals. But like I said, it's kind of one of those things where from a employer CEO standpoint, you think everything's fine. It's not. Hey, when I got married, my wife came into the house and she's looking at she's looking at everything. Well, we bought a new house in California, but I want a dude decoration. Yeah, exactly. She's like, no, you're not getting dude decoration. She wanted her decoration. It was a little overwhelming to me. We had to compromise on it. We had to communicate. She won. I listened. It was good. But
yeah, that's the way yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
I'll give you another military analogy. I guess maybe it's Memorial Day or something, but I'm in a
Yeah.
military mode this morning, but the military actually bookends that. And you probably had the same thing in the Navy, okay? Before a mission, there's what's called a CONOP, a concept of operations.
right.
Concept of operations is nothing more than a business plan that's been thoroughly discussed, thoroughly investigated, and there's a meeting of the minds between the commanders and the staff, officers, NCOs. And that's your concept of operations. It's briefed and it's approved. Boom, that's it. And all your authorities really stem from that. So you have a concept of operations. Then you go to battle, or you conduct a mission. Afterwards, you have what's called AAR, after action review. That's another very communicative, collaborative discussion, so that you discuss what went right and what went wrong, so that when you do the next mission and the next CONOP, you get better and better and better every time. It's a iterative process, which is what good, C-level people do in the corporate world, So
It's a good business plan. Yeah. It's communications. It's a plan. It's understanding what you want. You're fully understanding what you want, fully understanding what you need, and then giving people the ability to go make the change.
yeah,
That's continuous improvement. On the flip side, it's coming in and saying, I understand what you want. Here's the plan that's going to get you there. You'll be happy with it. You'll be comfortable with it. I'm not going to overwhelm you.
yeah,
And life is good.
good,
And
man.
that's, and that's it. So,
Yeah.
Rob, how do folks get a hold of you?
Rob at mrfairfax.com is my email. The website, www.mrfairfax.com. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, podcast. We're all over the place.
You've got phenomenal blogs going. I just read one today. You got phenomenal blogs going. You got a lot of, you got a lot of great stuff out there. So thanks for coming on as always, Rob.
You too. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Aerospace Executive Podcast. You can reach out to me directly, Craig at northstaresg.com, or check us out at www.northstaresg.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or on YouTube. Just do a search for Aerospace Executive Podcast. Thanks again. I'm Craig Pittman.